Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back and thank you for your continued support, y'all. I appreciate you. So today I'm going to be talking about finding accommodation or housing as an international student here in the US, because I think it can be quite difficult, especially if you're looking for off-campus housing. It can be a hassle. You might be stressed out. It's not always the easiest. But I'm here to make it easier for you by pointing you in the right direction. Okay, this is where you can start your search from. Some important things to be aware of so that you're not scammed or so that you don't sign the wrong lease. I will just touch on all that today. So to start us off, we have two main types of student housing here in the US. Emphasis on two main types, okay, which is the on-campus housing and off-campus housing. That's how I like to divide it personally. And then you can now go into on-campus housing, and then you can now go into off-campus housing separately. So I'm going to just start with on-campus housing, which is the university provided housing. So you could live in a residence hall or in a dorm. Those terminologies are used interchangeably. Some schools prefer residence hall, some prefer dormitories or dorms, so whichever your school uses. So with on-campus housing, you get to live in a university provided housing. So some schools have residence halls for students, both undergraduate and graduate students, while some schools actually do not have for graduate students, and some have, but it's just not enough. And some schools may actually have live-on requirements for undergraduate students. So it could be 1 year, it could be 2 years, it could be 3 years. Every school is so different. So if you're an undergraduate student, make sure to take a look at your university's website to kind of clarify their requirements, their residency requirements, to see do they require you to live on campus for the first year, because some believe that as freshmen you should live on campus for your first year, just so that you can transition well and get used to the environment and things like that. Just some advantages that they provide for living on campus and things like that. And so with living on campus, there are different types of residence halls. Some are single, some are double, some are triple, some are apartment style, some are family housing. So it's just so different, and every school has different options. Even where I work, I know that we have so many residence halls. We have double with shared baths, double with single baths, single with single room with shared bath, single room with private baths. We have triple room. It could even have shared baths. It could have private baths. So it just differs. And we even have graduate and family housing as well for students. A lot of time, if it's on campus, graduate housing are usually apartment style or family housing and things like that. So yeah, those are just the general types of residence halls that exist on a university campus in the US. So for undergraduate students, if you do choose to live on campus and are living in one of the traditional residence halls, you might actually be required to get a meal plan, which you would use to get food in the dining halls, unless you maybe live in an apartment and then you can cook on your own, and it might not be required. So schools have different requirements, and they might actually require you to purchase the meal plan along with housing. That's why sometimes you see in the calculation the cost of living and things like that, they will just put room and board just to kind of calculate all that for your room and then your meal plan as well. For graduate students, there's usually no residency requirement. It's usually flexible. You can choose to live on campus if your university has graduate housing. You can choose to live off campus, and a lot of times people like to live off campus because of the privacy. You don't want to live with undergrad students, or maybe it's just more expensive than you would like, and you're I want to go with cheaper option. But if your school has graduate housing, there's also some pros of living in that on-campus housing, which I'll probably just touch on later on in the video. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of point that out. And also if you live on campus, a lot of times you move into the room, it's already moving ready. You have a refrigerator. Some schools don't have, some have microwave in the room. I think one constant thing is definitely there'll be a bed and a desk for you, so you don't have to buy anything. You literally move into the room or the apartment and you're good to go. So just some things to keep at the back of your mind as you come here. So you don't actually have to spend money on some peripheral things, but then again you are bound because you might need to move out at a certain point in time and things like that. But like I said, I'll touch on the pros and cons later on towards the end of the video. And in terms of payments for on-campus housing, most schools require you to pay per semester. So it could be 2,000, 3,000, it could be 2,500, depending on the type of residence hall that you choose to live in, because I'm sure the more privacy you get, the more expensive it is. So just some things to keep at the back of your mind. Now, if you're looking for off-campus housing, right, because not every school provides that on-campus option, and it might not even be affordable for some as well, a place to start would definitely be your university's website. And I'm saying the university's website, right, because they're like, oh, on campus, maybe that's the only information they will have. No, a lot of schools actually have this on campus and student commuter services, where you can actually like find listings of like various apartments in the cities, or they have a liaison to assist students. Some schools, they like to build, you know, connections with the community, so they have this liaison, they have this off-campus and commuter services office to assist students with finding off-campus housing, or just put listing on their website so that you can take advantage of it and be like, oh, where do I want to live? I think I'll actually on the screen, I'm going to put an example of such website, and probably just do a short voiceover to kind of explain what the website looks like after this part of the video. So yeah, start with your university's website. It's actually one of the best places to start. If your university does not have such, reach out to your international student office and be like, okay, I'm looking for off-campus housing. What resources do you have available to assist me? So yeah, that's a very good place to start. Another would be various websites like apartments.com, forrent.com that actually have a lot of listings, and they have filter options for you. So you could even start and be like apartments near Michigan State University campus. And of course, one of the first results that will come up for you, it will probably be like an apartment.com website. And if you click on this website, you can filter even by budget. So if you're like, I don't want to pay above this particular rate. Also, I'm just going to say, be realistic in your rate, okay? Don't go and put, I don't want to pay below, oh, I said below, I don't want to pay above $200. Nah, you're not going to find housing of $200 here in the US. Just saying that. So you could actually start your search by also checking like all those websites. I'm going to put some links to those websites in the description box. I'm not affiliated with them, I'm just putting this out there for information. Some are like oddpads.com, you know, is it oddpads or college pads? I'm not sure, but I'm just going to put the link in the description box before I continue saying rubbish. So yeah, another place you can actually search is also Facebook groups. So a lot of times you find that university students will create groups for like off-campus housing. Maybe if they are searching, they'll be like Michigan State University off-campus housing and roommate search, and that would just be a group. And you can just go on Facebook and just like type like housing in Michigan State University, and you will see a lot of results actually, and you can join those groups. Some might be private groups, some might be public groups, but you can actually join those groups to kind of figure out like, okay, what listings there, you know, what listings or what apartments are available at those institutions. So sometimes you see like private landlords may post, students may want to sublease their apartment. That means like maybe they signed a lease for like a year and they are going for internships, traveling abroad, or maybe something just happened and they choose not to live there anymore, and they just want to sublease the apartment to another person. Because yeah, once you sign a lease, I'll talk about that later, okay? Once you sign a lease, you're bound by it sometimes, and so you might want to look for somebody to sublease that apartment. So you find that on those Facebook groups, people looking for roommates, or people will post things, and if I find an example, I'll put an example there. So one thing with Facebook groups is like, be very careful, okay? There are actually also scammers on those Facebook groups. Don't send money to anybody. You don't want to send money to any like buddy and just be like, oh yeah, you go. Someone's like, I'm looking for a roommate, just pay me. And nah, don't do that, okay? Don't send money to anybody. Pay directly to the apartment complex or maybe the landlord, and ensure you're vetting everything before doing so. And which leads me to another part. Another way you could search for like accommodation here in the US is connect to like a fellow international student. Reach out. If on LinkedIn you've identified somebody, reach out, okay? There will always be somebody that could assist if you reach out. That's one thing I've learned like so far in my stay here. There will be at least one person to offer some type of help. It might not be the help you're looking for, but they will still be able to offer it. Because if you don't reach out and ask questions, you might do the wrong thing. Sometimes international students already know, like maybe international student friendly apartments or cheap places that you can live, cheap and decent. So emphasis on decent, because you don't want to live in somewhere that is unlivable. Okay. So reach out and connect to other international students. Tell them that, oh, I'm searching for an apartment, can you assist me? You know, where do you currently live? Are there other apartments that, you know, that are friendly, international student friendly, or just in general that students, you know, like, or things like that? And I'm sure they'll be able to assist you with that, because you don't want to get scammed on those Facebook groups. There are a lot of legit you know, listings or posts on those Facebook group, people looking for roommates, or just apartments that you know, people want to sublease. But at the same time, there are also scammers on those groups. For instance, now you might see somebody that'll be like, oh yeah, I'm going for an internship, just pay me this money, I'm going to ship the key to you once you get here. Run away. One of my friends fell into like, she fell for a scam and she lost $1,000. Okay, because the person was, I mean a funny aspect was like, this person even kind of showed her pictures and everything, which reminds me as well, like, do a reverse Google search. If you see a picture on a Facebook group, do a reverse Google search to see if that picture was just downloaded from a website or something. And if you think, okay, you're convinced that this might be legit, ask the person to do like a video tour or something. Don't just go for anything without vetting. And if there's somebody that can help you confirm, like, call the apartment number here in the US, if it's an apartment or if it's a private landlord or whoever is leasing it, to confirm and be like, oh, hello, I'm just calling to confirm, like, you know, are you leasing this apartment or something? Like, please connect. That's why it's very important to make connections, even if it's just for the short term. You don't have to be fully friends with the person, the international student you're reaching out to, or yeah, like, just reach out and ensure that you do your due diligence. Okay, please don't get scammed. So yeah, those are, like, I'm just going to reiterate the 4 main places. Your university website, very important. A lot of universities have off-campus and commuter students websites that you can take advantage of, and they provide listings on it. Another would definitely be like apartments websites, where like you can find a lot of listings out there, legit listings. A place to avoid Craigslist. People, avoid Craigslist. There are a lot of scammers on Craigslist. Can it be useful? Yes, but please, I just advise people avoid it. A lot of people have been scammed on Craigslist. Number 3 is Facebook groups, university Facebook groups that are usually run by students or other entities, where you can find roommates, you can find listings and things like that. And also like human resource, your fellow international students, reach out to them, ask for help. So now moving on, I'm going to be talking about some very, very important terms and things to be aware of as you search for housing. This is a very important part of this video, because you want to know things to be on the lookout for as you search for apartments, or some terminology, some terms and things that just they use and you're like, what's this? What do they mean by lease? You know? So I'm going to be just touching on some of those key terms and things to be aware of as you search for an apartment and as you apply and sign a lease. I have my notes here so that I don't miss any aspect. And if there's any international student, current international student watching this video, and you think I missed anything, or even if you're not an international student watching this video, because I have some non-international students that watch my video, they said they found it helpful, especially the school videos, the schools I do on video. If you think there's any important thing to be aware of as you search for an apartment and sign a lease, and you want others to be aware of, and I did not touch on it, please comment. Help a friend out, help others out. I don't want people to fall for scammers. I don't want people to sign things without knowing what they sign for. So one of the first things I'm going to talk about is lease length and terms. Okay, now one second, let me open this document so that I ensure that I'm not missing anything right here. Yep. So in terms of lease length differs by apartment or house. You know, if it's like a private owned house, if it's like an apartment, or if every apartment kind of does things differently. Some would tell you to sign a lease for an academic year, so like as long as the school is in session, like a whole year, and you are bound to that lease for that year. You know, there might be some exceptions, and now you can break the lease or you sublease to another person. That means you another person will rent the apartment on your behalf. and pay. But you want to ensure that you are aware of the lease length that you're signing. Is it for a calendar year? Is it for an academic year? Is it per semester? Is it for like 6 months? So the shorter the lease, the more money you typically pay. If the lease is shorter, so now if you're like going for like a 6-month lease, just because you're like, oh, I don't want to commit, I want to test waters, you might pay more money actually. And sometimes there are apartments that actually don't do short-term leases. So what they do is for a year, like 12 calendar months or an academic year. A lot of apartments do that, and you're unable to find short-term leases. So like, just in terms of lease length, academic year leases, calendar year leases, so like 12-month leases. You can even sign 24-month leases if you, some people do that. But you want to clarify the lease length of the apartment, or of the lease you're signing. So yeah. Now for lease terms, some questions to ask yourself is that, are you signing this lease as an individual? Is it an individual lease, like, okay, I'm the only one, or is it collective as a group? So what do I mean by this? For example, now maybe you find like a 3-bedroom apartment, and then you want to like rent the apartment with other people. Some apartments, it's like individual. So if I break my lease, if I take apartments with 2 other people and I break my lease, those 2 other people will not be held liable. While for some apartments, if you sign a lease, everybody is bound. So if I break my lease and I leave 2 of you, the 2 other people living with me, and I just leave you hanging and I just move out of the apartment, you will actually be responsible for paying my rent. So just some things to be aware of. Are you signing like an individual lease, or is it going to be collective? A lot of times people sign lease by apartment, but there are also some apartments that they'll tell you like, okay, it's per room, so it's not like per apartment. If you're sharing with people, like, it's just per room, everybody will pay. So you're not paying together like maybe $1,000 per month or something. Like, everybody will pay individually. And yeah, that's for some apartments. So just some things that I think you should be aware of as well. Now, I hope you understand what I'm explaining, and if you're unsure, like, just put a comment in the description. No, I said comments. Put a comment, drop a comment, and I'll respond and try to kind of clarify things. And I'm also even planning to hold like some type of like just awareness session for those who might be moving here soon. I don't know what else to title it. I've been thinking of title for it, but it has not come to my head yet. And where we'll talk, I will be able to answer any of your questions about just transitioning to the US. But yeah, be careful, people. Read what you are signing very well. Ask questions before you sign that lease, okay? So another is deposits. Another thing I wanted to touch on is deposit. So with deposit here in the US, a lot of times, most times, 99.9% of the time actually, you'll be required to like pay a security deposit to the apartment. That's if you choose to sign a lease. And the security deposit can range from anywhere from like $150. I rarely even see $150. A lot of times I see $300, $500. Could range from like maybe $150 up to a month's rent. So what this means is that, like, if you damage something, like, security deposit is just in case of damages. If you damage something in the apartment, they will not refund your money. And if you don't damage things, most times they will refund your money. It's just not guaranteed, because there's some crooked apartments that they just want to keep that security deposit even if you leave the apartment just how you moved in, which is nearly impossible. But nonetheless, like, it's just like security deposit against like damages, because sometimes when you move out, things might be damaged, you might want to repair some things and all. Now, for international students, because you don't have a social security number and they can't run a credit check background on you, like, by the time you apply for housing, if you're applying from maybe like your home country, or even when you get here in the US, because you have to wait 10 days before you get the social security, and before the social security number comes in, you will need a place to stay actually. So because you won't have a social security number, they can't run a credit check on you before you come here, they might charge you a higher security deposit. So if your apartment charges like $300 or $500 on a norm, they could charge you up to $700. Or even sometimes they could charge you like they could ask you to actually pay like a month, like the first and last month's rent together. So not just the first month, the first and last month's rent together. And sometimes they ask you, like, another alternative could be for you to have a guarantor who would sign on your behalf, like somebody who is here in the US and has property. So my partner will tell you that the person has to have property here in the US. I don't understand, but anywho, and a lot of times you can't find such, right? So you are forced, or you might be forced to actually pay first and last month's rent. For some apartments, some it will be like a higher security deposit. So just some things to keep at the back of your mind if they ask you to pay like up to a month's rent for your security deposit because you don't have a social security number and they can't run a background check on you. Another thing to keep at the back of your mind as you search for an apartment is like, is it furnished or not? Okay, I think this is quite important. And if it's furnished, what's the definition of furnished? Does it come with fridge, microwave? A lot of times, a lot of apartments here that I have been to, that I have toured, because I've toured quite a lot. In fact, let me tell y'all, I've toured up to 20 apartments before, and I just could not do a video on it then. But a lot of apartments I've toured are like furnished with fridge, microwave, and cooker, and of course you have to buy furniture and things like that for yourself. But there are also some that are fully furnished, like they have couch, they have bed, they have like fridge, cooker, microwave, like they have all those things. Of course those ones are usually more expensive, but there are some student apartments that are actually like fully furnished, and I'm going to just put like an example of maybe a picture side by side of like if a fully furnished apartment and some apartment that they claim that they will tell you a furnished unit, but the furnished unit is just fridge, microwave, and what's it called, just appliances generally, instead of me repeating microwave and all those things, just appliances that you need. While also some may come with in-unit washer and dryer. So in terms of like amenities, I'm just going to also like merge this with amenities since I'm already talking. Some apartments might come with in-unit washer and dryer, some will have it in the complex, and some will not even have it in the complex at all. You have to like go out to pay for that. So another thing to just keep at the back of your mind as you search, like when they say it is furnished, ask them like furnished with what, to just clarify. A lot of times when they have it on the website, they will provide all those amenities. They'll put the amenities provided, complex, washer and dryer in complex. That means it's in your building, somewhere in your building. It could be maybe your building has like 5 buildings. I said buildings. Maybe your apartment has like 5 buildings. We shall be somewhere. There'll be a laundry room there. Or in units. In units means it's actually in your apartment. I always like in unit laundry. It's just so nice. Don't have to go out, but you know, the more amenities you want, the more you have to pay. And some apartments actually have like gym in their apartments and things like that. I'm like, oh, that's dope. Gym, pool, like, you know, but you gotta pay more money. And sometimes when they have those amenities, they will charge like a community fee for the upkeep of amenities. They might charge like $50 per month to just like maintain the grounds and things like that. So another thing just to kind of put at the back of your mind as you search for apartment. So yeah, I think I already talked about furnished versus unfurnished apartment, and some apartments are not furnished at all. Like I think these ones are like maybe some houses where literally they will not even have cooker, they will not have fridge or anything. Those ones I'm usually like, why now? Why? But a lot of times, a lot of apartments here have some appliances available, and some of them they will not call it furnished because their definition of furnished is different. So ensure to clarify like the definition of furnished apartments you're trying to move into. So yeah, and then another thing I would like to really highlight is utilities. Utilities here: water, lights, sewage. Some apartments like they charge for sewage or sewer, whichever one they want to call it. Water, I've said water, light, sewage, internet. That's another thing. Internet, people. You have to pay for all those things. I know like maybe there's some this thing like you get like a basic plan for like what, $45, and then for light it depends on like the company. You know, we always have lights here. Light is always constant, so that's a nice thing, right? But you gotta pay for that, people. And some build like by community. So some apartment, I think, yeah, that's just another thing to clarify. Some might build by like maybe like the your building or something, and some might build by your personal usage. Because I know, like, when I was doing an apartment search for a friend, there was some apartment that will tell you, okay, this is the flat rate, you pay like $35 for water per month, it's standard, while some will tell you you pay by your usage. The same thing for electric, they will probably bill by what your complex use, or like maybe like if you live with people in a particular building, they will just bill all of it together and they'll divide or something. I don't know how they do it, to be honest. I'm just trying to explain the best way I understand, while some will be by usage. So just some questions to ask if you are like somebody that you just like this, you just want to know how much you pay per month, because you're like, oh, I want this, I want to know this, I just want to know how much I'll be paying. So my partner will tell you, like, upfront, like, every month for all utilities, water, sewage, light, everything, you pay $100 per month and you're good to go. Then yeah, if that's what you like that certainty, go for it. And for some, it might be by usage and you have to pay on your own. And if you like that, you're like, I don't want to be sharing anything with anybody, consider that as well. And some apartments also like include internet services, so they will just give people like password, so like the Wi-Fi or something, and they will just charge you for it per month, or they might already include it in the rent. Yeah, so that leads me to another point again, like what's included in the rent. That's always a question I ask when I call, and I'm like, oh hi, I'm searching blah blah blah. I always ask them like, oh, so what's included in the rent? I know it's easy for me to call, and if you're like living in maybe like another country, like you might have to like email back and forth and stuff, but always ask them questions like what's included in the rent, what utilities are included, what utilities are not included in the rent, what because here you pay rent on a monthly basis. And you might have to pay probably like by the end of the month, or by the time you move in. Sometimes the rent is like prorated, so if you move in on the 24th, that's how it is. Like, they will charge you through the end of the month, and then maybe you start paying on the first. Every apartment is just so different. So I can't just be like, oh, this is how it's going to be. So that's why I always ask them question like, what amenities do you have in the apartment complex? If it's an apartment and not a house, what's included in the rent was not. And because sometimes we also see that like maybe people will rent houses, so from landlord, it could be like a 5-bedroom house, and they will split those bills and everything. So that's like just another thing, because I know I've been seeing apartment a lot now, and I know some people it's just like an actual house that they rent, and everybody will play their part, play a role, because it's just kind of cheaper. So I think those are just some things that I have to say about like some important terminal. Let me look at this note and see, am I missing anything? All right, I already talked about deposits, lease length and terms. Oh yes, parking. Another fee that might come up outside of utilities is also parking. So apartments have free parking. Some you might pay for parking. So questions to ask people, okay, do you pay for parking? So that's why when you ask that question, like what's included in the rent, what's not, still ask specific questions. Will I be paying for parking? Is parking free? And if I'll be paying for parking, how much is it? So that you calculate all that and you actually know the actual cost of the apartment you'll be renting. If it's a house now, a lot of times, you won't really, because it's a house, you're already paying for everything, you get to park. There might even be a garage and stuff like that for some cars and everything. I mean, that's a question to ask if you know that you'll be getting a car when you get here. So you might not plan to get a car soon. So yeah, and if you don't actually plan to get a car, also consider the proximity of the apartments to the campus environment. Is there a reliable bus system that could take you back and forth and you don't have to walk too far? Okay, I think that's another thing to really consider, proximity to the campus environment. I always advise international students moving here for the first time, especially those of you that you know that you don't have like family here, you're not even planning to get a car soon, maybe you just don't have that money to get a car. Find somewhere that is not too far off on campus, that maybe when you walk like 3 minutes or 5 minutes, there's a bus that will literally drop you on campus. That's always like the best approach. Don't go very far away and you can't really access campus as you would like. So yeah, parking is another thing. And with parking, I almost missed this. Ask, is it off street parking? I mean, when you Google the apartment or when you Google the house, you kind of already like, oops, I mean, when you Google the apartment or when you Google the house, you kind of already see if it's on street, off street. And sometimes they put it in the listing. All these things I'm saying, like ask or see, they kind of include it in the listing. I already know what to look for. But yeah, off street, is it off street? Like that means, is it like, are you parking like, you know, not by the street, or is it on the streets? That means you have to park by the streets, because there are some campuses that are literally so integrated with the community, and sometimes you have to, like, this is my YSA campus here. Sometimes people have to park, like students have to park by the streets. Like there's no off-street parking for them, because that's just how it is. And sometimes they pay a fee for that parking by the roadside and things like that. So every campus is different. That's why I always say, like, reach out to somebody, they ask questions. If something is unclear, ask. Yeah, I'm really trying to provide as much information as I can here today. So another thing I'm going to also just quickly touch on is the documents you would need when applying for an apartment here. So when you find an apartment, a lot of times you have to apply, unless it's like a private landlord that does not utilize such a process. But more often than not, you actually have to complete like a rental application. So what are some documents that you would need when completing this? One would definitely be the completed rental application and fees. So those fees could be like $30, $50, $100. Like every apartment has a different fee that they charge you when you apply. So that's like an application fee, and it's different from the deposit fee that I mentioned earlier. Another would be your passport or any other ID that you have. So as an international student, that ID would most likely be like a passport, just to prove your identity. And there are also some other things that they might require. Some might require like an admission letter, just to confirm that, you know, maybe like a student or something, because they can't really run any background check, they can't really do anything. So that could be like a way to kind of prove that. That's some apartments, some might not. Some will just require you to like provide your passport, like complete that rental application where you put in details about you, your name, maybe your number, a couple of things, address, background, and stuff like that you provide on the rental application that you will complete online, or maybe like a PDF that you send back to them or something, depending on the apartment. And also when you're completing the rental application, because sometimes there will be like this space for social security number, which you would not have, like I said, you may actually be required to pay like a higher deposit fee or like a first and last month's rent. So that could be like an extra charge that could come across with it. But yeah, I think overall that's just like the documents. I know like maybe if you've been here for a while, then they might be asking for like, oh, maybe like pay stub. Those are like maybe because I know there are some apartments that'll be like, oh yeah, you know, provide a pay stub, your monthly pay stub to show that, you know, you make 1/3 or blah blah blah. But like that's for like maybe those that are kind of already working and not like students or something. And some they will tell you, or maybe like a parent or a guarantor, they want that person to kind of sign for you because you cannot provide some information that they need. But yeah, in terms of documents, a completed rental application and a fee, your ID, which will probably be your passport, and some will even ask you to put down like a reference. And sometimes I just like, why all this stress? But yeah, you know, they have to verify some information about you, and if you cannot provide that, they might not approve you. So another thing, even though you've applied for that apartment, you know, you apply first, they might not approve your application. And they might approve it if you meet their requirements. So it's like a yes or no thing. So after they now approve, then you can now decide whether you want to sign a lease or not. And once you sign that lease, like people, you are bound to that lease. So before you sign out that lease, ensure to check everything, okay? Cross check. So as I try to kind of like round up this video, I'm going to just provide like some things to consider if you have the option of choosing between on-campus and off-campus housing. So if you have that option and you're able to select between both, some things to consider would definitely be the cost. Sometimes on-campus housing can be more expensive than off-campus housing depending on the institution. But then again, you also consider things like safety, and also like the fact that you're not really buying anything, you just come as you are. You know, the school already provides like a bed or fridge, microwave, decks, and all you just have to do is just move in. Also consider like being able to connect with other students. Like, is that something that is a priority to you? Do you want to make friends? Do you want to mingle with other students from various cultures? Some schools have like places like international communities, international house, where you can mix with other international students. Some don't, but you can actually consider that. And a lot of times, like, they have resources, so like RAs, resident advisors, that can assist you in your transition. And if you need something, you can really reach out to them. They can provide resources. They have like all directors that oversees the buildings. Like, these are like full-time masters professionals actually in a lot of schools that can provide those resources to you. Outside of course, like, another thing to consider is also like privacy. And privacy looks differently for everybody. Like, you just want to go to this apartment, you don't want people around you or things like that. Like, off campus might be the best option for you, but also on campus too, they also have like single, they have private, like they have different options. It's just like maybe you might actually have to go into a building to access that, and maybe you don't want that. Or also, like, another thing to consider is also proximity to campus. So like, if you're trying to decide, like, a lot of times you find that on campus housing options are actually like closer to classes. You know, you can easily go back and forth, and you don't actually have to like take a bus. Sometimes if the campus is very large, you might need to take a bus, and sometimes you don't need to take a bus, depends. And if you live off campus, you know, you might have to like really commute to campus. So another thing to consider, proximity to classes. What is a priority for you? And very importantly, which I kind of mentioned earlier actually, is like money at hand. Because I know sometimes a lot of people choose to live off campus just because of the cost, because they can save money, because they're not bound to a meal plan, because, you know, they don't have to like pay all these fees up front. You can just pay it like per month, as opposed to like on campus where you just have to pay per semester. And if you live off campus, you know, you do not have to pay per semester, you just have to pay like monthly. And you can even share like that off-campus apartment with people where it makes the money lesser as well. So yeah, I think that would just be some tips to consider. I think my brain is getting blank right now. I had some extra ones, but I can't really remember. And if I remember, I'll just probably add it in the description. I mean, I said description box or comments. As I round up this video, final tips, people. Please do not rush. I know, you know, you might be like, I really need to get a place soon. Please do not rush, okay? There are actually some organizations out there, maybe like IFI. I forgot the full meaning of IFI. If I find it, I'll put it here. That actually provide accommodation for international students for up to like 3 days after your arrival. Some might be a week. Some might even be able to accommodate you for 2 weeks till you settle in. So please do not rush when you're searching for an accommodation or housing, so that you don't select the wrong option. And reach out to people. Do not be afraid to reach out, okay? Reach out to people. And another tip I also have is like, be careful as you seek out roommates, please, okay? Be careful, have conversations with those people so that you don't enter one chance, because you don't want to be in a terrible situation. It's already stressful being an international student in this country. Like, you don't want to be extra stressed out, and you can't even come home and be at peace. So just be careful, okay? Like, ask pertinent questions that are important to you before like seeking out a roommate, or before agreeing to be someone's roommate. And also avoid Craigslist if you can. I always tell people this. A lot of people get scammed on Craigslist, so try to avoid Craigslist. Also, like, do like reverse Google search, you know, to search for pictures if it's on a Facebook group, to confirm like if it's legit or not. Like, did they just download it from a website, or they actually put that picture up themselves? And if they do, like, does it seem like it's available online? And if you're unsure, that's why you should kind of always try to connect with an international student here who can maybe even help you call that apartment. It's like, is this actually vacant, you know, or is somebody trying to scam somebody here? And as an international student who does not have a means of transportation, it's always better for you to kind of find an apartment or accommodation close to campus, for at least for the first year. So yeah, and with that, people, because I'm already zoning out, with that, we've come to the end of my video for today. Hopefully you find it helpful, or maybe you're looking for accommodation, and I've been able to explain some things and clarify some things. And if you have any questions, or maybe you're like, oh, Esther, can you touch on this? Feel free to put that comment. drop that comment, okay? But yeah, that's it. We've come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for your support, people. Like, I'm almost at 1,000 subscribers. I'm excited. So make sure to like this video, give it a thumbs up, you know, like my video, and subscribe to my channel if you're watching without subscribing, and share my video with anybody that will find it helpful. So yeah, take care and have a wonderful weekend. Bye.